Okay, so here we go, folks. Our chapter 9 and 10 review, study guide review in 10 minutes or less. Going to try and go through this rather quickly. Just going to go boom, 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 boom. Right down the list. Feel free to stop, pause, rewind, whatever you have to do to get yours done. The first term we talked about was inaugurate. Just a pretty basic term, which basically just means to take office. So when President Washington officially became president, he was inaugurated. Anytime a president takes office, they're inaugurated. They swear, take the oath of office and everything like that. Aliens and Sedition Acts, our next term. That was, if you remember, that was a law passed by the Federalists and John Adams that made it a crime to speak out against the government. It specifically targeted immigrants. That's what we mean by aliens. We're not talking little green men, but immigrants, people new to the country, legally new to the country, and Democratic Republicans. Made it a crime. That violates our First Amendment, violates speech and freedom of press. Alien and Sedition Acts, not very popular, as you could imagine. Next topic we looked at, Battle of Fallen Timbers. That was a battle that took place out here in the Northwest Territory between Native Americans and American forces. The first of many clashes in our history between the American military and Native Americans as we continue to push ourselves west. Battle of Fallen Timbers, the Americans were, of course, victorious in that one. Our next topic is the Whiskey Rebellion. And you know what? I don't even have my little prop here, so I can't unfortunately bring up the picture for you. Whiskey Rebellion, remember that was like Shays Rebellion Part 2. Farmers in Pennsylvania, there was a tax on whiskey. They didn't like it. They tarred and feathered the tax collector. George Washington came in with his big old presidential boot and said, knock it off. You're going to pay the tax. You have representation. Just deal with it. Brought in thousands of troops, crushed the rebellion. They paid the tax. Game over. But they were still upset about it. Whiskey Rebellion, exercising that federal power. Next topic, political party. That's just a group of people who have common interests or common ideas about how the government should be run and how we should use our government. So today we have Democrats and Republicans. Back then we had Federalist and Democratic Republicans. Our next topic, foreign policy. Remember foreign? That's just dealing with other countries. So foreign policy could be, for example, during the time period we looked at, an example of foreign policy would be how the United States was dealing with France or with Great Britain. Foreign policy example today would be how the United States deals with the country of Iran, for example. Next topic, neutral. This was a part of Washington's farewell address. After his 2 terms in office, he said, I have some advice for you guys. I suggest you listen. One of his pieces of advice, of course, was don't form political parties. But we know that nobody listened to that, and we still have our political parties today. But the other one deals with neutrality or being neutral. Being neutral means you don't take sides. Washington said when it comes to foreign policy, do not take sides. Don't join with the French. Don't join with the British. No, just worry about ourselves. Next topic, XYZ affair. During John Adams' presidency, remember the French were attacking American merchant ships. They were kidnapping our soldiers, yada, yada, yada. Really upsetting. He sent some diplomats over to France to deal with it and said, France, knock it off. 3 French agents representing the French, we refer to them as X, Y, and Z. Remember the opera video? They said, yeah, we'll stop if you pay us millions of dollars. Americans said, no way, Jose. XYZ affair. Tecumseh, Native American, we looked at in class, and his idea was that in order to stop the United States, the white man, from spreading west, that they should unite. The Native American tribes, the different Native American tribes should unite, taking a page right out of the patriotic playbook, join or die kind of thing. Unite and fight back. Very strong, very powerful, and a very dignified Native American leader. His plan did not work out as planned, unfortunately for him. And part of that was because of the Battle of Tippecanoe, when General William Henry Harrison clashed with some Shawnee Native Americans. At the Battle of Tippecanoe, they were victorious. This was a huge setback for Tecumseh's unity plan. However, Tecumseh did take refuge with the British, who were up in Canada. And the British and the natives kind of formed an alliance out of that. Checking the time, we're good. Democratic Republicans. One of our first political parties we're going to take a look at. Remember, Democratic Republicans, they were fearful of a strong government. They said that the federal or national government should be weak or limited. Democratic Republicans were people like Thomas Jefferson and Madison. These were kind of the leaders of the Democratic Republican Party. They also were supported by a lot of farmers and tradesmen, so craftsmen. Those are the people who support it, kind of the common man kind of deal, looking to support the Democratic Republicans and Thomas Jefferson, limited national government. And they also had a strict interpretation of the Constitution, which means that if the Constitution doesn't say that you can do it, you can't do it. You can't just kind of interpret and be like, well, it doesn't say that I can't, so I guess I can. Jefferson believed that, of course, until the Louisiana Purchase, when he took one look at the Constitution, not allowed to buy land. That's a pretty good deal from Napoleon. I'll do it anyway. So that was the Democratic Republicans. The other side, of course, is the Federalists, who wanted a very strong national government, or a very strong federal government, supported by merchants and lawyers, and then, of course, John Adams, hardcore Federalist to the bone. John Adams, our second president, Federalist. Also Alexander Hamilton, creator of the National Bank. And Federalists, remember, they thought that the government should be able to have a lot of power, and they believed in a loose interpretation of the Constitution, meaning, yeah, it might not directly say we can do this, or it might not directly say we can't do this, so we're going to kind of interpret it however we want. We're going to see how much we can kind of get away with, as it were. So Democratic, Republican, or Federalist, rather. That brings us to, let's see here, I'm just going on the list. Hamilton, creator of the National Bank, tried to get rid of our nation's war debt in basically 3 steps, or solve our financial problems in 3 steps: pay all of our debt, raise taxes, and create a national bank. Moving on. Louisiana Purchase. This whole big chunk of land right here, and actually, better map right here, Louisiana Purchase. All of that land, Thomas Jefferson purchased it from the French. Had to run and grab my prop. Remember, Thomas Jefferson, this hardcore Democratic Republican, takes a look at his Constitution, his baby, the United States Constitution, and he's like, boy, baby, you don't say that I have the power to buy this land. But it's such a good deal. Napoleon Bonaparte, he's offering the Louisiana Territory for less than 4 cents an acre. No. Jefferson takes one look at his baby and goes, see ya, baby. Buys the Louisiana Purchase, less than 4 cents an acre. Tremendous deal in 1803. Then he sends out Lewis and Clark. Meriwether Lewis, William Clark, on the Lewis and Clark expedition. You made your Anamoto videos talking about their expedition to go and roam around, explore, see what they can discover out in the woods, which they did. They were gone for a few years. And on their trip, they were joined by Sacagawea, a Native American, Shoshone, who joined them as an interpreter, and it was a huge asset to their trip. Things would have been dramatically different if they did not have Sacagawea along on their entire trip. So a very successful trip. Only one man died, did great things for the country. That brings us to the Star-Spangled Banner, kind of jumping around here. Star-Spangled Banner, written by Francis Scott Key in 1814, after the United States at Fort McHenry, which is in Baltimore, their flag was still flying at the end of the battle. We talked a little bit about that in class, so you'll probably remember that topic. Impressment. One of the causes of the War of 1812 actually was impressment, when the British Navy was capturing American ships, American sailors, forcing them into the British Navy. So impressment is essentially kidnapping and forcing someone to join your military. Over 6,000 Americans were impressed by the British Navy. Remember, that's not like impressed like, look at my muscles. That's like being forced to do something. That brings us to the War of 1812. What 3 groups were involved? Well, of course, the Americans, and of course, the British. Obviously, kind of mortal enemies at the time. And also the Native Americans were involved, mostly on the side of the British. Most Native Americans joined the British side. We got about a minute to go here. We're looking good. So the 3 groups: Americans, British, Native Americans. 3 causes of the American Revolution. Impressment. All right, that was our first cause, impressment, which we just talked about. The second cause of the American Revolution was interference with American shipping. Very much tied with impressment, but British troops, British naval people, they were attacking American ships. That upset us. It interfered with our shipping. And then lastly, the British and Native American alliance. All those 3 things caused James Madison and Congress to declare war on the British. War of 1812. The 3 effects. Although the United States, yeah, I guess we would say maybe we tied that war, but we declared war. We didn't really get much out of it. Invaded Canada, weren't successful. 3 results: increased patriotism in the United States, weakened Native American resistance, and increased manufacturing. Got to go real quick here. The name of the famous battle of the War of in the War of 1812, the Battle of New Orleans. Andrew Jackson was victorious, took a little bacon, took a little beans, went down to the town of New Orleans. Embargo Act of 1807, which said that the United States could not ship or trade with any other countries in the world. It was a disaster. Poor move by Jefferson. It was an absolute disaster, and it hurt the American economy. And then lastly, how did the War of 1812 help American industries? The British, they put a blockade around the United States, forcing us to build our own stuff. That's it. Chapters 9 and 10 review study guide. Good luck. See ya.